our June Lunch and Learn. Today, we're dealing with the aspect of holding profitable, well-held open houses. And guys, we are blessed. We've got a gentleman by the name of David Knox. He knows our kind of area. He knows our weather. He's based out of the Minneapolis area. And David's been at this for over 40 years of experience. I will share with you, I saw David early on, and I still remember it was the point of not just being there, David, but being good, but you must be there. One of my favorite things I've learned from you. Along with that, David's presented at 30 NAR conventions, done over 3,500 seminars. Folks, we're blessed. So please welcome David Knox.
Thank you very much, Darwin and Coldwell Banker at Century 21. Hey, it's so good to see you. Thank you for having your cameras on. I put a setting on. If your camera's off, I had to hide it because I can't look at blank screens, but it helps me see people and your reaction. And by the way, I love involvement. If you want to interrupt, unmute yourself, ask a question, or put it in the chat. And Darwin, if you see something in there that you think is a relevant question at the time, please let me know. But thank you for that wonderful introduction. And today we're going to talk about holding profitable open houses. And I'm excited about this topic. I've been a believer of open houses forever. I know the benefits, I know the objections, so I can anticipate what a lot of your thoughts are. And at the end of today, I think all of you will be excited about holding your next open house. And I believe it's a wonderful way to earn a living and prospecting in this business. A lot of people say, well, it's old school. The reason it became old is because it's been working for years. And actually, I've been in the business 50 years. I got my start with open houses and for sale by owners. And some of the top agents I know and the top agents that I feature on our training website, like Venus Morris Griffin, Bob Wolf, John Baumgartner, I can go down the list, that all of them swear by starting their business with open houses. So the objectives of today's seminar is to do 5 things. Number 1, to help you select the proper properties to hold open. And I get sometimes in a low inventory market, that's far more difficult. But part of holding a good open house is selecting one that is more likely to be profitable. Number 2, how to promote it other than just putting a sign up and hoping. We're going to go through how do you promote it so you get much higher attendance. Then we'll talk about preparing the open house, just fundamental preparation. And I've been in open houses of agents where I go, clearly, nobody was prepared for this one. And then the key part, the real skill would be conducting the open house. What do you do from the minute they start walking up out of their car to the front door? How do you conduct that? And then finally, one of the more important things is to follow up. So again, these are the 5 topics that we're going to cover today. We'll cover them in detail. And at the end, I know you're going to be really excited about holding open houses. So when we ask the question, according to NAR, where do buyers go? And NAR says 48% of buyers go to open houses. And I frankly think that number is higher. And it's perhaps market specific. And I get the pandemic, pre-post, a lot of these numbers got thrown around. But the bottom line is people go there. I often ask audiences if anybody went to a boat show recently. A lot of people say, no. I go, why not? Because I wasn't interested in a boat. Well, the corollary to that is when people go to open houses, it's a pretty good chance they have an interest there. Now, we know that few actually buy the specific open house. The pandemic has changed that a little bit where it's a higher percentage, but still, we're probably not going to sell that open house to the people who came through in most situations. But I've said this forever, if they do want to buy your open house, let them. Don't be so focused on, oh, they're going to buy something else that you don't even close on them. If they say they like this and want to buy it, it's okay to let them buy it. And I hope this analogy works. Some of my analogies could be dangerous, but it's a good one. I think open houses are like a singles mixer, so to speak, for house hunters. They're not, quote, dating anybody yet, so they go around to different, open houses, singles bars for buyers. Now, I get some of them are working with an agent. Sometimes their agent sends them there, but still, it's a great way to meet people who may not be, quote, dating another agent. And my philosophy of this is, even if they have a relationship with another real estate agent, other than having a signed buyer agent's agreement, My goal is that you be so good that they'll want to date you, that they'll want to work with you, buy from you, list with you. And your open house becomes a job interview to show how great an agent you are so you can capture them as a prospect. So what are the benefits of an open house? They cost almost nothing. What a great prospecting tool. Doesn't cost anything. My gosh, sending out postcards can cost you a few $100 a month. Open house doesn't cost anything. The prospects, they come to you. Here's what it looks like to prospect an open house. You stand there and they come to you. I mean, how difficult is that? And it completely eliminates rejection. When you call people up, they can hang up on you. When you go to a door, they can close the door or not answer. But now they're coming to you. There is no rejection. Now, I understand later on, perhaps if you close on them, offer to work with them, maybe they choose not to, but still, there's no rejection up front. It can be a major source of prospects, and I'll tell you some more stories about that. It can provide an opportunity for an immediate sale because sometimes they do buy the open house. And it's a community awareness with your signs and promotions. So if you want to be known in a neighborhood, an open house is the second best way to do it. The best way is obviously your for sale sign and sold signs. Those are always going to be the best. But I have two names down here of two people who represent some of the best in using open houses, John Baumgartner and Bob Wolf. First one, John Baumgartner is a realtor in Southern California, Rancho Mirage, Palm Springs. I met him 11 years ago, just about this month. And I was out looking for homes and I went online like all buyers do, but then I wanted to see them in person. So I started going through open houses. And some of them, they're like, well, if you got any questions, I'll be over here watching the game. Ooh, impressive. Sometimes they'll give you the bum's rush and it's just, they're in your face. But I remember I got to the one held by John Baumgartner and drove up, walked in, and Candace and I went to the front door and it was a nice day. So the main door was open. We walked up and said, hello, please, welcome to the open house. Please come in. And okay, we walked in. My name is John Baumgartner. And I said, I'm David, this is Candace. And I'll tell you more about what he did as we go through the seminar. But the end of the story was, in fact, he was with Coldwell Banker. The end of the story is that I ended up listing 3 units with him and buying a home from him. And after I signed one of the first agreements, I discovered he was a brand new agent. I was his very first customer. So here's a guy, been in the business for a month or two, I think, had no listings, no sales, and he captures somebody with 3 condo or townhouse listings and a buyer. And I don't want to make this sound egotistical, but having been in the business 40 years at the time, I can kind of recognize competence in the industry. And I've used the analogy that John fooled me into thinking he was experienced. And I say fooled in a positive way. He was so good. He was professional. He was well dressed. He asked good questions. He interacted with us. Where when I was walking through the home, I said, yeah, this is a north facing home, right? And he said, yes. And I said, I hate north facing. I'm from Minnesota. I don't want to look at any more snow. I need south facing. I want the sun. And he says, well, we do have a south facing home at 304 Loch Lomond Road. And I went, okay, thanks. I was kind of non-committal. I wasn't ready to commit to him. And as we walked around the home, Candace said to me, hey, I'd like to see that one on Loch Lomond. I said, I kind of would too, but if we do that with him, we're kind of committed to him. And I'm not sure if we want to do that. She says, I like the guy. I think he's nice. He's professional. I'd like to work with him. I went, okay. So we went back out, introduced ourselves, and went on with the transaction. And I tell this story because it's so true and it's so powerful. So for those of you out there who are new agents, this is how you can get started. And here's the end of that story. John Baumgartner is now the top agent in Mission Hills Country Club area in Rancho Mirage, Southern California. Go Google him. And he started with open houses. Now he's a top agent. He holds client appreciation events for his customers. He spends 15 grand on them. You don't spend 15,000 on an appreciation event if you're not making a lot of money. So he's the icon for me. Second one, Bob Wolf, one of the top agents in the world, literally. He's in Southern California. He's been in the business for a long time. He's the CRS instructor. And when I was interviewing him for our online training, I said, how did you get your start in Southern California? He moved from Fort Collins, Colorado, to Southern California, didn't know anybody, zero, nobody at all. It was Bob and his wife, and he needed to make some money. And most of the agents go, I don't really like open houses. They never work, and I don't do them. Bob said, give them to me. I'll take them. He held an open house every single day for a year in 1989 when he made this move. He said, David, I did it every day for a year. Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year, Super Bowl, Thanksgiving, you name it, every day for a year. Sometimes I had a lot of people, sometimes I had none. But at the end of the year, I met enough people that I sold $30 million worth of real estate in 1989. Bring that forward with inflation. And he got it all out of open houses. And when I talked to him recently, he says, David, I can trace 80 to 90% of the business I do today from people that I met in open houses. So open houses work if you work them. So please, at the end of this event, you're going to know how to work them. So let's talk about the two reasons for holding open houses. Number one is marketing. The fundamental purpose of it is to market the property, to expose your listings to a group of prospects who wouldn't otherwise see it or make an appointment. So it's a good marketing tool. You could use it to qualify a prospect and secure a sale. And there's a lot of homeowners that prefer this as one of the marketing things. And I've heard agents say, well, my owners don't like open houses. I would challenge you to this. The reason they say they don't like open houses is maybe they've been talked out of them by an agent, and maybe they don't understand them. So I don't buy it when somebody says they don't want an open house. I understand exceptions. There's, unique people in the property, unique kind of property. I get it. There's some that just maybe don't work. But I feature a guy named Jack Cotton in our online training. He's selling 5, 6, 7, 8, $10 million homes. He does open houses. So people say, well, it doesn't work in luxury. Yes, it does. A little bit different way to do it. You have a Bentley parked in front, you have a Porsche, a BMW, have a jeweler with the little table there, and you make kind of an event out of it. And that's what Jack does. The other reason for open houses is prospecting, generating leads for other homes. So if the visitor isn't a prospect, then clearly you're going to offer your services to them for another home. So a lot of people say, well, is an open house kind of a bait and switch? Only if that's all you use it for. Your primary function is to represent the owner, generate a prospect, produce a sale. If that doesn't work, you have every right to help these people buy something else, right? So I hope that helps for two motivations. Next, what are your, by the way, we're going to take just a pause. I'm going to pause 1 second here. We got to get our microphone working. Okay. Our technical helper is going to fix the mic. What's going on?
Yeah, you're good. We're hearing you out here. So you're good as far as what we're can hear. Yeah. Of course, now you're muted, David.
Right. Just a second.
There we go.
Can you hear me right now? We're going to switch mics, I think.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Yeah, just a second. Are we going to switch the mic and the pack? Or?
Give us 30 seconds.
Okay.
We're good.
Darwin, you're muted too.
Yeah, I know. I was just entertaining everybody here in Clarkston. So, and I guess when I do this kind of stuff, that means it's entertaining you also. But oh, that's going to be a good question. So, David, I know you're still putting together what you got there, but a question did come up: is the recommendation whether or not we have two people at an open house, or do we do it as a single? So when you get back live, we'll see if we can address that question.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Everything all set up? Give us a. Okay,
David,
can you hear me
one
now?
question
Darwin?
did, yeah, you're sounding good there, and one question
You can
did
hear me
come
and see
in.
me?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right,
Just, would you recommend two people be in an open house or just do it single?
Two versus one person?
Yeah.
That's a good question. There, if you're doing virtual open houses, you need one to run the Zoom and the video and another one to do the open house. I think in most cases, one person to do it, but it's really up to you. If you're dealing with a larger home where you're going to have a lot of people there, maybe a double team, have two people there. Sure, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it just depends, you know, how many people do you anticipate coming in is another big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a personal choice, and I trust that all of you will decide when that's appropriate and when it isn't. If you're going to have a lot of people in a big home, perhaps that'll be the way to go.
There you go. Well, you're good to
So
go.
I'm
You're
just-
back on at it.
Okay. Your competitors. Let's be better than your competitors, because I think what they'll do, oftentimes they will just rush to the home at the very last minute. They drive at the last minute, they go up, they take a sign, they start in the front yard, they go up, they're breathing hard, they open up the door, and they go, and hope somebody comes into the open house. They've done nothing at all to ensure it's going to be a good one. And then at the end, they go, well, open houses don't work. Well, that's because you didn't work it. So we're going to try to be better than that. So the next chapter is to select the property. And that is a big issue. And I'm just going to address the first objection that I know I'll probably hear, and that is, well, there's no inventory to hold open. Two answers to that. Number one, at the day that we are shooting this video, you're right, inventory comes and goes very, very quickly. But this video is going to last for a long time in our online training, and markets are going to change. But I've heard people say, well, there's a shortage of inventory. My message to you is stop saying there is a shortage of inventory. Here's a metaphor that I use. Saying if you go into a big parking lot with all kinds of cars in it, you drive and you go, there's no parking places. There's a shortage of inventory, shortage of spots. But if you have a time-lapse video, and if you take a look around, you see all the spots open up. They all turn over throughout the day. But what happens is a car backs out, and there's two of them ready to pull in. And I think that's how the real estate market is. We probably had the same number of units, and you guys can check that out in your own company and in your own market. But what happens is when one comes up to the market, somebody's ready to buy it. So the key to holding an open house in a fast-moving market is to hold it immediately. And as you see that you're going to get a listing, your thought has to be, how do I go through all the processing and the photos and all the stuff that we do? And how can I hold an open house almost immediately at the time it is legally on the market? So I want you to follow your board rules, ethics, MLS rules, all of that kind of stuff. And at the time that it is legal for all agents and brokers to show it, you want to have an open house right away and get your owners to agree to that. And maybe you only have one, you know, it finally goes active on a Friday, you hold it open on a Saturday and Sunday, probably all day, because maybe you sell it yourself in a market like this. And that's one of the ways to get open houses. So if you're a listing agent, you flat better be holding your own listings open as immediately as you can. And even if you can't get something online to promote it or mailers or whatever, you could just put up a bunch of directional arrows and signs and sit there and watch it happen. I was talking to Bob Wolf recently, and I asked him to do something on a weekend. I said, David, I can't do anything with you this weekend. I'm holding my listings open. I said, well, Bob, I thought you stopped doing open houses. David, I started doing them again. We're in a market today where it's a higher likelihood that I can sell my own listings. So I'm holding them open because I can double end them. So he's holding his own listings open in a market like this. I asked if there's listings in your company that are available. And I guess ask your office, do you have any listings at all? Do you literally have zero? If you have any, set it up to hold open. And by the way, maybe you only have one property to hold open. Hold it open every day from 4 to 5 in the afternoons and Saturday and Sunday. But you've got to decide that it's a great way to get buyers and listings. So find them to hold open. Number one, you select by price and price range. I have the words properly priced with a question mark. Does it have to be properly priced? My answer to that is not really, because when somebody drives up to the property, they don't know whether it's properly priced until they get in it. And once they're in it, you get to meet them and do what your whole point was, is to meet them, convert them to a buyer or a prospect. Obviously, if it's priced properly, you're going to have better success. A key thing is to have an active price range to increase attendance. Every market has its active range. You want to be in that. If there's a range, some people say, well, I want to be in the $2 to $3 million range. Well, if there's only 2 homes that sold in that range last year, good news is it's a cool house. It's really cool to hold it open, but nobody's going to come. So figure out the active price range. The next thing, people will say, well, open houses only get buyers. It's true if you're holding a price range where it's first time buyer range. But if you're holding something in 4, 5, 6, 800, whatever, select open houses in a price range where the buyers probably will have a home to sell. Now you have an opportunity for listings and buyers. So price range is your first criteria. Number 2 is location. I would certainly hold open houses, obviously in your own listing. Do it in an area in which you want to work. And that way you can generate groups of prospects that you can play kind of the concentration match game. You also want to make sure the home's easy to find. Bob Wolf said, David, whenever I hold an open house, I want it to be no more than 2 or 3 arrows away from a busy street. So it's fishing. You want to be able to throw those signs out in a busy street. But if it's 17 corners to get to the house, the good news is it's cool, it's priced right, but no one can find it. And you might need 30 directional arrows. And if that's the case, put up 30. I was talking to one agent in a subdivision that had 4 different entries into it. And he said he had to put a arrow with all 4 and then lead them in. He said he had like 20 or 30 arrows out there. So whatever it takes. And then obviously, parking. I don't know if that's a big issue on some of these open houses. So we have price, we have location. Next is condition. If it's clean and attractive, it's more likely, obviously, to sell. But in terms of generating leads for other properties, it's not critical that it be clean and attractive, but it would certainly be nice. We hope that the listing agent has done that. But I think curb appeal is important, so at least it invites them in. Otherwise, they drive, you've all seen this, they drive up, they look and go, no, and they drive on by. You do want them to at least come in. Time in the market, a fresh listing is going to create a lot more interest than one that's been on the market a while. But again, if it's properly promoted, you can get business. Days and times, obviously, customarily for years I've been in the business, Saturdays and Sundays, usually from 9 to 4, those have been the windows. But you know what? Don't lock out other opportunities. What about a midweek, late afternoon? Bob said, I'd go out during rush hour and I'd put up signs at 4 in the afternoon, stay there till 5 or 5:30 and see if you can't get a few people midweek. He said the midweek attendance was lower, but higher quality. The people who came in midweek were more likely to be buyers, whereas weekends, you do end up with a lot of other stuff. So as I said, I just want to remind you, Bob Wolf held one every day for a year, generated 30 million in business, doing it every single day. I'm just going to stop, see if anyone has any questions on the first chapter before I go in.
We have nothing in the chat room. Anybody have anything? David, you're okay if they take themselves off mute, ask a quick question?
Oh, gosh,
Anyone?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What if you're selling a rental property that has like weekly rentals for vacations? What do you recommend for that? Because you have such a short window in between flipping it for the next week.
Oh, here, just
Say that again, a rental property?
Yes, like a weekly rental property that rents for vacations weekly. So there's like a short window. Would you try to do something in between that window to show it?
But it is trying to be sold,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
It's a rental you're trying to sell.
Yes.
Well, all you need is a day or two, right? The bigger challenge you have is how to get it in good shape for showings, because renters obviously don't take quite as good a care of it usually. So, that's going to be your challenge. But if you've got a week in between rentals, obviously, try to promote it that way. In fact, I will say this, knowing that it's more challenging to show a rental property when people are in it, when the tenants are there, that if you have a week in between, man, I'd have an open house every day, because those are your one chances to do it. I hope that helps with your question.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, I got another question here. Go ahead, John.
Question regarding a home that's been on the market for a while. What are some suggestions or ideas that you have to promote that, to hopefully have a successful attendance at it?
A couple of answers. Is it your listing?
No.
Okay, well, I guess the first answer to that would be to try to get the price reduced. So that's a whole nother issue, but clearly if you get the price reduced, and if you get it reduced, you have another reason to promote back to other buyers and prospects and say, hey, we've had a price reduction on this property. So that'd be one thing. The other thing is, as the market moves and more people come in and out and in and out, a lot of people don't know it's overpriced. They may not even know it's been on the market that long. And it kind of negates your ability to promote to people who've already seen it, know it's overpriced, unless price was the issue. But you can still hold it open because I think the public may not know. Does that help you?
Take care of it.
You know, every week you got a new set of prospects coming out that will sadly discover it's overpriced, but at least you get to meet them. There is one benefit of an overpriced listing. And Bob Wolf reminded me of this. He said, David, I had a home in the market. It was overpriced. It was vacant and it never sold because it was overpriced. I generated more leads out of that property. Then finally it sold and I lost my best source of revenue. So an overpriced listing makes everything else look good and maybe generates more prospects.
Okay, we're good on that.
All right, if you're ready, next chapter is to promote the open house. The purpose of promoting the open house is to avoid sitting there all by myself and having nobody there. How do you promote an open house? Let's go through the ways. Well, who attends? Genuine buying prospects, where this might be, you know, home for them. We've got potential sellers. Maybe they're interviewing realtors and they want to see how you do it. Friends of the seller, sellers already listed down the street and they want to check out the competition, and obviously people who are curious. So those are the kind of people you're probably going to get. But number one promotion is going to be online, MLS, your company, personal websites. A lot of you have open house opportunities on MLS that you can promote. So all the online stuff you can do. A promotional video on all your social media, and I think a Facebook Live in front of the property the Thursday before. Hey, I'm David Knox. This is 2115 Randolph. We're going to be holding this open this Sunday from 4 to 5. Please come out and visit me. Because it's a Facebook Live, it rises to the top. People kind of see the home in the background. That might be a way to do it. If you're going to do a virtual open house, then obviously you're going to post a Zoom link on your Facebook page. Broadcast emails, so this is where the CRM comes in. You can select the people in your database that would most likely come to the property. So all the online, certainly we're going to be in there. Number two, signs and directional arrows. We know that a lot of people drive the neighborhoods. They know where they want to live, so they're going to go geographically in finding the home. So clearly having lots of signs, lots of arrows. And I've seen people do streamers and balloons, and people say, isn't that hokey? It might be, but have you ever not noticed the balloon? Have you ever not noticed one of those streamers drive? You just can't not notice it. So hokey stuff sometimes works. Number three, your active buyer list. Clearly you're holding an open house for at 500,000. You're going to go through your active buyer list and see anybody in that price range and let them know about the property and invite them out. And by the way, you can invite your active buyers to come to the open house anyway, just for fun. It doesn't have to be the perfect open house. You can say, hey, it's a cool house. Maybe you want to see it. Which past open house prospects, same thing, go through your database, find people who came to other open houses that might be interested in this. Number five, door knocking around the neighborhood. And that leads to a whole nother kind of open house, and that would be the neighbors only open house. They want to come to the property anyway. They're going to sneak in and feel guilty. Oh, we're one of the nosy neighbors. Why make them feel guilty and shameful? Why not just do a neighbors only open house? Just invite them and tell the owner, and the owners go, well, really? Do we want the neighbors to come in? They're going to come in anyway. So, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, if we get 20 or 30 neighbors into the property, and if just one of them knows a guy who knows a guy who refers us to a buyer and we get your home sold, it's worth it. So let's have a neighbors only open house from 10 to 12. And then those people kind of hang on for a little bit longer. And then the public open house is from 12 to 2. So I think it's a wonderful, wonderful way to generate business. So they can do the neighborhood preview of the property. You can door knock, door hangers. I'm sure you've heard of EDDM, every door direct mail, where you can put together some cards to the neighborhood by the route and say, hey, we're going to have a neighbors only open house. You are welcome to come and visit the property before it goes live. And by the way, I understand in the context of a fast market, some of the things that I present may not be appropriate this week, but I'm trying to present something that will work all the time. And the idea is you hold this home open, maybe you meet neighbors all the way around here, because you all know when you have this home open, if you can attract these neighbors, one of the questions you ask these people is, and this is the most important question all of you can be asking, and that is the question, how long do you plan to stay in your current home? So these neighbors come in. Thank you very much for coming. You must be one of our local neighbors. Thank you so much for visiting. What made you want to see this? And maybe they'll say, we're thinking of buying or selling or decorating ideas, whatever that is. And as you chat with them, say, how much longer do you plan to stay in your current home? They say, well, funny you should ask. We're thinking of moving, in the next month or 2 months or year or whatever. And it's a great way to generate business for the future. And by the way, if you have this home listed, it is a real embarrassment when others come up in the neighborhood and you don't have them listed. So for sure, one listing ought to equal a couple of more. Number 6, putting together flyers, open house information sheets, distributing them if that's appropriate, mailing announcements that we talked about, send out a couple hundred cards, door hangers, whatever. Canvass the move up neighborhood. Now this is a bit creative. We know, and NAR knows, that people pay about 50% more for their next home. And all of you can do the math on that. Take a look at somebody who bought a home for $800, what price range were they in? So if you take the price of your listing and you divide it by 1.5, you will end up with the most likely price range from which they are moving. And you could do a canvassing of that move up neighborhood and send a card to all those people. So if you know that, some high percentage of people buying in this neighborhood are renting over here or living here or whatever. I happen to live in a high-rise conduit in Edina, Minneapolis. And I can tell you the demographics are 80%. They came from a community called Country Club District in Edina and a couple of areas in Wayzata. So those would be the areas you'd promote where I live. Number 9, friends and sphere of influence. Maybe it's the chance to meet your friends. And, you have to have good reasons to call your sphere of influence. And I've always said, call them and thank them for their business. But one of the reasons you call and say, hey, Jim, I'm just giving you a call. I'm holding a home open on this street and it's just a cool home. And I'm just calling to see if you're not doing anything Sunday, pop by and visit. They don't even have to be buyers or sellers or anything. Just say, hey, come on by. And if nothing else, you have somebody in the property. And here's another thing. Have you ever been in a position in your life where you had no interest in buying a car, and then a friend of yours buys a new car, and you go sit in it, you drive it, you smell the new car smell, and you get back to your old car and you go, oh, this is horrible. And you decide to buy a new car. So sometimes you can pique their interest just by seeing a new property. So I hope those ways help you. You don't use all of them on every open house, but I'd certainly go down the list and think which of these is appropriate. The next chapter is to prepare the open house. And we begin with, obviously, a feature sheet on the subject property. A couple of ways to do this. If you're the listing agent, you would have prepared these for marketing anyway. If you are holding another agent's listing open, you're going to do the feature sheet, but you're going to attach your business card to it. And make sure you have the listing agent's permission that if you're going to hold it open, you get to capture the leads from it, and you put your business card on the flyer. In fact, one of the things that Bob Wolf did when he worked in open house was he'd take the flyer of this property, and then he'd have one higher price, one lower price stapled together with his business card on all three. And one of the ways to get information from these people was to hand these flyers out and said, these are some other properties you might take a look at in addition to this one. If you drive by one that you really like, please, if you would give me the honor of showing it to you. And he said, not everybody called me to see these other homes. Enough of them did 30 million in sales. You should know about the neighborhood information, listings, sales, other open houses, put them on a map program. You need a guest registry, but I listened to one agent who had 2. She had one at the front door that nobody would ever sign. And then she had one back at her little office table, where by that time they built rapport, they had trust, and they got them to sign that one. So I thought that was an interesting idea. So obviously you should know the neighborhood, drive it before the open house. The other thing you can have is sample flyers and brochures on other properties. For buyers, if you want to encourage them to look at those properties, and for sellers who want to see how you market. And I just think you ought to dress up. You know, I get the real estate business, casual Friday became casual month. So yeah, I'm more comfortable in jeans and a t-shirt, just like you. But I think if you want to stand out from the competition, dress up. In fact, the pandemic took us down to, you know, we thought all we had to do is wear a shirt. So I just believe in dressing up. And people, oh, I think that's so old school. Well, I don't know. Sometimes old school works. I see somebody raising their hands and cheering for that. So why not dress up? You know, there's two kinds of open house visitors: those who care if you dress up, those who don't care if you dress up. And the ones who don't care won't mind if you do. So dress up. You know, I see people in flip-flops, and you've seen it all. I believe you ought to have a name tag big enough where they can read your name so they'll remember that. And then go through five senses: sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, sight. Do you look good? Sound, cologne, the whole thing. So check yourself out so you make a good impression. Now it's time to pre-stage, and this is a basic to all of you, but just more as a checklist. Make sure the exterior is presentable: driveways, cars, all the kids' toys, lawn stuff. And then, as Bob Wolf says, lights on, drapes open. Lights on, drapes open. This should be true for any listing, any showing, any open house. Get everything on, open it up, turn off the TV. Maybe you put on some light music, or maybe you go to the TV and you put on the travel channel set real low, whatever works. Climate control, of course. And maybe, depending on the property, you put in floor mats or runners. Obviously in the winter, rainy days, you want to respect the house. Which, by the way, leads to another thing. Should they take their shoes off at the front door? And in a high-priced property, you're probably going to do this. But there's a psychological benefit of putting those little booties at the front door, or just asking them to take their shoes off. It shows respect for the property. So that's another thing to consider. We all know that we don't want the sellers to be present during an open house. We've known that for years. Pets need to be out of the way. Valuables and breakables, get that stuff out of the way. Check all the rooms, check all the closets, things like that. And by the way, I'm just going to pause for a second. I'm not going to go into this in detail right now. But a big topic that all of you need to be aware of is safety. We've all heard the stories of the harm that can happen to real estate agents in showings and open houses. We get that. So maybe back to that question, should we have 2 agents versus 1? If there's any concern about safety, maybe having 2 is better. Some fundamental rules out of some of the safety videos we do is, you know, never go into a room first and alone. You never want to put yourself in where you could get cornered. As Oprah Winfrey says, if it feels bad, it probably is. Pay attention to that little gut feeling and have a plan for if something doesn't feel right, you can get out of there. So I'm going to send it back to all of you to go through a safety plan. You should know if something doesn't feel right in an open house, have a plan, have a code word, have some that you can call. I've heard some people say they call the office and say, hey, I need you to get for me the red file. And that's their code. Something's not right here. So I'm just going to delegate to all of you to please, please, please pay attention to your safety. So now we've got to prepare to do business. So set up in the kitchen, you know, the counter, the table, wherever you want to do. You got to set up a little mini office. And this is where you have all your business tools, a little welcome table, information sheet, guest book, contracts, all of that kind of stuff, all the handouts. So setting it up as a business. Then the question is, do you have refreshments? And I think you're probably safer not to, but one of the things you could do that I think would be appropriate, get those little bottles of water, not the big ones, but just a little one. The worst, they spill water. That's not the worst thing that's going to happen, but I wouldn't send them around the house with red wine and coffee. But, you know, maybe a little bottle of water, it keeps them there, things like that. Other agents have done stuff for kids. They have little coloring books and say, oh, what's your little name, Joey? Would you like some, oh, you want a coloring book? And, you know, you can do stuff like that and get creative. So the goals of the open house. Number 1, determine if a visitor is a prospect for this home. If so, let them buy it. If not, determine if they could be a prospect for buying or listing with you. Those are the goals. And what I'm going to do is now take you through conducting the open house. Now we are into the skills. These are the important skills. How do you conduct an open house? So if you've done everything right up to this point, you should have some people coming. Which begs the question, what do you do in an open house if nobody shows up? you should have what I might call a rainy day plan. What will you do in an open house if nobody comes? Here's what I think you should do. I think you should take a big stack of thank you notes, stamps, and a pen, and write thank you notes to people. So at least it's not a completely wasted time. So let's talk about conducting the open house. And I have some real strong feelings about how we handle that initial few minutes. And I often use the analogy of the retail store where you walk in and they go, may I help you? And you go, no, just looking. I'd like to avoid that retail dance. And of course, what happens is they're in your face and you say, no, thanks, just looking, they disappear. And then you walk around the store and finally get to the point where you go, you're looking for somebody and they're gone because you sent them away. And I think a better approach is to welcome them and step back. You want to give them that comfort spatial zone. You talk about, I think Jerry Seinfeld did a show called The Close Talker, where people come up to you and you keep moving away. So respect their space. And I think as they come in, hey, come on in. No, welcome, please come in. Maybe open the door. And then you take a noticeable step back and let them come in, and make them feel comfortable. And when it's appropriate, you got to read the room, so to speak. Introduce, hey, my name is David Knox. Welcome, or I would probably say, welcome to the open house. My name is David Knox. And then just pause, because people feel stupid if you use your name and they say, okay. They'll probably say, they may not give their whole name and social security number, but might say, I'm Bob, this is Karen. Okay. And then memorize it. This is key. If you have any kind of chart or anything with you, which is write their name down because you want to be able to use it. Don't overuse it because that's kind of stupid too. Then the big question is, do we have them sign in or not? And we could probably spend the rest of this hour debating that. I'll just give you my philosophy. You do what you want. The odds of getting any good information in the first 11 and a half seconds that they walked in, hey, thanks for coming, I need you to sign in. And then we lie to them. The sellers have requested that. You know, I have never met a seller that really requested that. I think it's BS. I think it's lying to them. It's disingenuous. For those exceptions where it's a $16 million home and they have to pre-register, I get that. But I just think you're not going to get good information right now. I think it's better to let them come in. And then when they come into the front door, hey, how are you doing? Withhold the feature sheet, by the way. And then what I would do is say, thank you so much for visiting. How did you find us today? You know, and by the way, you're not in a funeral home. Thank you very much for coming to the open house. Have some fun, but read the room. You've all been at restaurants where the server is sometimes a little bit more effusive than you're feeling today, or the other way around. So kind of be a good server, so to speak, and sense these people. This is the fun of the business. And you know how enthusiastic you can be. Say, hey, thanks very much for visiting. How did you happen to find us? And I do want to ask that question. Well, online or sign or ad or whatever. I want to find out how they came here. And here's the way to give them permission to tell you to stay out of their way is say, would you guys like me to show you through? Would you prefer to see it on your own? Come on, 95% are going to say, no, we'll just take a look on our own. Oh, great, feel free. Bedroom wing is that way, the garage is that way, kitchen, so please take a look around. By the way, would you do me a favor before you guys leave? Do me a favor, find me. I have one question I want to ask you, and I have some information I'd like to give you. Please take a look around. I want to give them 2 reasons to find me on the way out. I don't want to give them a feature sheet because they're going to go like this. They're going to walk through the house looking at the feature sheet, and I don't want to look at the feature sheet yet. It's a waste of time. I want them to see the house. And then when they come back, then we're going to talk. But let them go. So my general philosophy is to summarize. Welcome to the open house. Step back. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome to the open house. I'm David Knox. Oh, Bob, Susie, very nice to meet you. Thanks for coming in. How'd you happen to hear about the open house today? Oh, good. Well, I'm glad that ad worked. Great. Well, thanks for coming in. Would you guys like me to show you around? Or would you like to see it on your own? No, we'll see it on our own. Great. Well, go ahead and take a look around. Do me a favor. Before you leave, would you do me one thing? Find me. And because I want to ask you one question. And I also have some information I'd like to give you before you leave. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's my suggestion. Have some fun. Lighten up. This should be enjoyable. You should be having this greeting and interaction where when they walk around, they go, honey, what do you think? I really like her. Gosh, she's really nice. I really like that. That's really, you want them to feel good like my wife and I did, and came back and listed 3 units and bought from the guy because of the way he handled this opening stuff. So now they go through the property and they come back, and in a good situation, you got people running all over the place, and you're going to have to, which one are you going to deal with? But you go over, they come back and say, hey, so how'd you guys feel about this home? And in 90% of the case, they're going to say it's too big, too small, too this, too that, wouldn't work, all the negative. You go, oh, okay. You can say, the odds of finding a home that you would ultimately buy through an open house is really kind of hit and miss. Do you have any questions about the property? No. And then you can say, by the way, the feature sheet, whatever, and you give them that. And now I'm going to take you through, turn this off for a second. I'm going to take you through the 3 most important questions that you will ever ask at an open house. Now, we've already talked about the rapport building, what brought you here, how do you like the house, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to take you through 3 critical questions that will determine whether or not these people will ever be a prospect for you or anyone else. And I remember my parents went through open houses down in Florida. And I always wanted to buy this rental property. And I said, Dad, what are you spending for rent? He told me, I said, my gosh, for that amount of money, why don't you buy the place? He goes, oh, we got a nice low interest mortgage at 5%. By the way, he thought 5 was the lowest he'd ever heard in his life. Now we're complaining about it. And so he said, no, we're not going to buy. I go down the next year, there's real estate brochures all over the place. And I said, hey, what's going on here? And I said, Mom, what's going on here? So, oh, your father and I are out looking at real estate. Oh, are you finally going to buy down here? She said, I don't think so. So, what's with all of this? Well, your father and I love to look. And I said, well, how are you seeing all this stuff? You've only been here 10 days or so. Oh, the real estate agents have been showing us around. And at that time, my company had an office in Marco Island. I went, oh, no, I hope they're not wasting my company's time. But that's a true story. I'm going to tell you the other end of that story as I go through the 3 most important questions you can ask. Number 1 is, how soon would you like to be settled? Timing and motivation are the only things that matter. If you have a busy open house and you can't ask all 3 of these, and you go, hey, how are you guys doing? Nice to see you. I like the house. Great. By the way, how soon are you looking to move? A couple of years? Great. I'll go take a look around. All right. Hey, how are you doing? When are you guys thinking about moving? Well, we're thinking about 10, 20 years. Great. Call me in 10 years. Hey, nice to see you. How soon are you guys looking to buy? Well, we're hoping to get something this week. Well, isn't that special? Come over. We're going to have a little chat. So I am looking for the people who want to buy now, and buy now from me. Urgency is everything. The questions I'm going to take you through, working an open house, ad calls, signed calls, anywhere. How soon do you want to buy? The question I gave you before was, how long are you planning to stay in your current home? Timing is everything. It's the only thing that matters. And I have agents waste more time, like how many bedrooms do you want? How many bathrooms do you want? What location you want to be in? What price? I don't care if they're not going to buy in a short period of time. I don't care yet what they're looking for. Okay. So you are looking for buyers who want to purchase and get settled. Now, if their time frame, there's longer, put them in a database, follow up, do whatever you'd like to do. So first question, how soon would you like to be settled? Hopefully we get some good answers to that. Question number 2 is, how long have you been looking? A corollary to that would be, or how many homes have you seen? I am trying to be a predictor of future behavior by asking questions about their past behavior. If they've been looking for year after year after year, there's a pretty good chance they're perennial lookers and probably not going to be of value to. But if they say, hey, we just started, that could be an indication that we have a good buyer. So the first 2 kind of calm, nice, informational questions. The third one is a bit more targeted. And the third one is, you guys, if you were to find a home today that met your needs, was perfect for you, what would you do? There's a more targeted way to say, if you found a home today, would you buy it? And that one works as well. This one is a bit kinder and gentler. If you found a home today, what would you do? And this is a closing question to find out whether or not they're going to buy. This is the time you will probably uncover working with another agent. I think another horrible question to ask early on, hey, thanks for coming to the open house. Are you working with another agent? I hate that. But I also want to respect Article 16. I don't want to encroach on a previously existing agreement. But you really need to ask that right away. Have some fun. Use your skills. Get to know them. And then if you find a home, what would you do? And then we'll give you some other questions to uncover a relationship with another agent. But those are my 3 questions. And to finish the story, with my parents, I said, Mom, how are you seeing all these? Oh, the real estate agents are showing. I said, do the real estate agents know that you're not going to buy? She says, no, I don't think so. And I said, well, why haven't you told them? And she said, they didn't ask. Had anyone said, so thank you very much for coming to the open house. How soon are you looking to get settled? My parents don't know how to lie. And they would have said, oh, we're really not probably ready to buy for another couple, 3 years. We're just down here on vacation. Oh, I see. And how long have you been looking? Hey, Charlie, when did David graduate from high school? Oh, we've been looking for about 20 years now. I see. If you found a home today, what would you do? Oh, there's nothing we can do. We're just on vacation. We're just looking around. I see. So how many bedrooms don't you want? Are there any other realtors with whom you're looking, from whom you will not buy? And what price range will you not be buying in? How many bedrooms don't you want? How many garages will you not need? What are the locations in which you will not be? Who cares? We major in minor things by asking questions about needs and all that kind of stuff. They're not even moving. And I'm going to bet there's still some agents down in Florida that have a database filled with my parents' requirements, and they're never going to buy. So please, I'm begging you guys, work these questions into your open house and into your telephone questions. And just to summarize again, these aren't the first questions out of your mouth, but at some point, that's what we're looking for. I hope this helps you convert your buyers. Then, if they answer these 3 questions properly and you decide you'd like to work with them, offer some help. Would you guys like some help in finding the home? This is another way to reveal the presence of another agent. You might say, well, we're working with another agent. I don't know how assertive you want to be if they answer that question, but do you have an agreement with them? Have you signed a buyer agency agreement? If they say yes, then forget about it. Leave them alone. But if they say no, we're just are you happy with the service you're getting? One of the things that I'd like to say is, if you're working with another agent, if they were doing a good job, you wouldn't be coming to an open house. Be careful, by the way. I realize some of this stuff you might not be able to say, but I'm really curious. If another agent is helping, why in the world are you doing the job on your own? So if they say they would like some help, then you talk about setting up a time to meet, continue the discussion, and then you can get their information. And when I talked about delaying, asking for the name and address and all that kind of information, part of the reason was they don't even know you, they don't like you, you're probably not going to get good information. But if you've had a nice conversation, you have built rapport, you've established trust, now they might be amenable to it. And here is one of the best ways that I have taught to get information. If another home came on the market in this general area and price range, would you like to know about it? Would you like to know about it? And most people say, oh yeah, we'd love to. Great. How would I best get that information to you? And now they're going to give you accurate information because you're going to give them something. You walk into a retail store and say, ask for something. Hey, oh, by the way, thanks for coming in. Could we get your name, address, and phone number to be on our mailing list? You go, no. But if at the end you have a relationship with a salesperson, you're looking for a product. In fact, I was in Barnes & Noble 2 days ago. I was looking for a book. And they said, we don't have that book in stock, but if you'd like, we could send it to you. Great. Could I get your information? Yeah, I'm going to give them everything because I want to get the book. So offer value, then ask for it. And what's the best way to get the information to you? You get that. I was actually coaching an agent in Florida. It was at the Villages, by the way. And I was doing some coaching, and it was a new agent holding an open house. And I said, well, I'll just sit and watch what you do and give you some feedback. And a couple came in, looked around, and they had a very nice interaction. And at the end, I think she said, so what brings you here today? Well, we're looking for a property for our daughter. And she asked some pretty good questions. But at the end, this couple started walking and they go, okay, so all the information on this is online, right? And she said, yeah, it's all online. Okay. And they were walking out the door and I'm thinking, no, don't let them go. So I'm not even licensed in Florida, but I had to use my skills. I said, excuse me, before you leave, I understand that you're looking for a property for your daughter. Is that right? And they said, yes, we are. You know what? If Beverly would find a property in this general area and price range, would you like to know about it? And they said, oh yeah, we'd love to. Great. How would we best get that information to you? Oh, and they started scrambling for cards and phone numbers and got all the information. She looked at me like she discovered fire. Now she was a new agent. And I said, just ask some fundamental questions, offer to help and see what you get. So it was just fun to use the technique on real people and watch that it worked. You're offering them help. Some other cute things you can do. You can have a contest to guess the sale price and give them a gift card. I've heard people offer that. You could do an open house survey and say, you know, I rate the condition of this house. If you wouldn't mind filling this out and saying, you know, I wish this home had what I like best was, my final sale price is. Now, some of this might be overkill. Maybe you do a 2-question survey, you know, at the end of Delta when you book, please stay online to answer a 1-question survey. If you were to hire this person today, rate on a 1 to 5. So it's a quick survey, something to consider as an additional addition to your open house. Next is follow-up, and this is probably the most important part. It's the follow-up that counts. You don't want to waste all this time you invested, because lookers could be leads, could be listings. Then you want to separate the lookers from the buyers. You've obviously done that a little bit in the open house, but you need to follow up. Hopefully you can add them to your database follow-up campaign because you have all their information. So you take a look at the visitors that have come through the open house, maybe more likely to purchase, and decide how to follow up. You could send a handwritten thank you note if it's really important. You could text a short video of yourself. I think that's easy. Just hold up your mobile device. Hey, this is David Knox. This is the home where you and I met. And I want to thank you so much for visiting me in the open house. I look forward to helping you find another one. Please give me a call at this number or whatever. Thanks for visiting. Keep it to 12, 15 seconds. Easy way to connect. Now they see your face, they remember you, and they remember the property. So try doing that. And if you get them on the phone, ask questions like, you know, how do the rest of your open houses go? And if you have some interest there, you can set up obviously a buyer counseling meeting or an opportunity to do evaluation on their home. Next, you can find another similar home to present to them. Again, ask them if they'd like some help. You can send them a list of properties. And you also want to review the 3 critical questions. How soon do you want to buy? You've probably already known how long they're looking, but I'll ask you again, if we come up with something, would you buy? And then you could invite them to the next open house as a good follow-up. And if they are interested prospects, set up an appointment in your office. That's another way to ensure your safety is perhaps meet them in your office first. So in summary, you need to meet buyers and sellers. There's a lot of ways to do it, but why not go where they go? And that's open houses. It's a powerful, fun, easy, cost-effective, non-confrontive way to meet people. You know, 48% go to open houses, and you know, some of those numbers might even be made up, but you know, a lot of people go to them. They come to you and they might probably be single, so to speak, and be interested in working with a realtor. So offer some service, ask them to work with you, and then get the appointment. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you very much.
I like it.
Darwin,
Well done.
I'm happy. Thank you. We actually did it on time, didn't we? I wasn't sure we'd be able to
We
do that.
did, yeah. Fantastic job. Any other closing thoughts outside of the open houses, David?
Oh, I could go on and so many of them, but I think the best way to do that would be for me to, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have on things that challenges you're facing in the market.
Guys, if you want to take a little extra time, if you got a question outside of what we had as a topic today, feel free to jump out here. We'll take 1 or 2 questions. Everything's awesome.
A hand up there or something. Okay,
Guys,
Darwin,
if you want,
anything
just
that you
take yourself
would
off.
want to review in what I've done?
I think, you know, David, outside of doing open houses, which is a great way to be able to find business, my biggest thing is always go talk to people. Is there anything that you've got that you would say is the most important thing that you could give them to walk away with today?
Well, obviously, talking to your past customers and clients, sphere of influence. We've got some videos in our online training, which, by the way, Darwin and I are talking about maybe offering our online training. I call it the Netflix of real estate training, 600 videos on listing, selling, and negotiating. And one of the things that I talk about in these videos is the 5 reasons to call your sphere of influence. And one of them is to thank them. So for those of you who've been in the business a while and you are experienced, call your past clients and thank them for their business. It's a good excuse to call. Number 2, invite them to some event, invite them to coffee, to a dinner, to a client appreciation event. Anything that you, maybe you buy tickets to some local event, you buy a block of tickets and you invite a bunch of people to join you. Movie theater, invite them to Top Gun, you figure it out. Inform, you could put together a quick 15-second voicemail on the current market regarding interest rates, availability of properties. Another thing, this takes a little bit longer, and that would be do a customer survey. Fill it out and ask them what they need from you. Do they want to buy, sell, refinance? Ask for their current information. That's how you get cell phone numbers and things like that that you may not have. And number 5 is to be their source of all things real estate and train them to call you whenever they need anything related to real estate. Become their preferred vendor resource. They can't buy and sell from you every year, but they're always going to need landscaping, dog sitting, gutter cleaning. You can go down the list of all the real estate related. You should have a preferred vendor list anyway, for sure, have that. And now that you have it and it's organized, tell the vendors that you have them on the list and say, hey, look, I need good service when one of my clients calls you, because you want to be careful on that. And then you can post on Facebook and announce that you have the list. Then you can telephone and say, by the way, I don't know if you saw some of my posts or email, postcard, whatever, but I just want you to know that I have what I call a preferred vendors list. And if you need anything related to your property, before you Google, consider calling me. I may be able to provide. And Bob Wolf, who I know I refer to him a lot, but good friend, top agent in the business, he said, David, I have trained all my people to call me whatever they need. They call me first. I had a guy call me and said, Bob, I just had some surgery and I can't get out to the street to take my garbage. Could you find someone to help me? And Bob said, Mr. Smith, I will be happy to help you. And Bob said, for the next couple of months, I took his garbage out every Tuesday and Friday. I put it out to the curb, I went back and I put it back. And a lot of people laughed at me for doing this mundane task, but you know what? When Mr. Smith goes to list his $11 million home, probably a good chance they'll call me.
I love that.
So-
I love that. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll take advantage. We'll go 2, I think, quick questions. 1, what is your thought on holding a for sale by owner house open?
I'm trying to close something out of here. And that gets into a whole lot of legal issues. I think you obviously have you got to have a contract with the owner and on payment and showing. So you take care of the legal side of that and have some kind of agreement. That would be number 1. Having said that, why not? They'll let you do it. It's a property hold open. So sure. I mean, that's a unique idea. I love creativity like that. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. So one last one, and we're going to call it a good one, a day anyway. Any suggestions regarding sellers that attend the open houses in interviewing possible buyers? Lisa, maybe give me a little bit more clarification. Take yourself off mute.
Sellers of the open house or sellers of neighbors? And unmute yourself.
Oh, okay.
If you want.
Yeah,
Thank
Rick,
you.
go ahead and clarify. Lisa, I'll tell you what, hold for a second. Let's get clarification, Rick, if you're good. I think what Rick is talking about is for a mode of prospecting and the difficulty of finding homes to hold open, would you recommend contacting a for sale by owner and offering to hold it open for them?
And I said yes to that. Make sure you have whatever the necessary agreements are. So check with management.
So
before you
Rick,
do
is
it.
that what you were thinking?
That is too. And maybe you want to give them 2 tickets for a dinner to go to and to keep them out of the house while you're doing an open, and understanding that if anyone wants to buy their house, they get them. If they don't want to buy their house, they're yours.
It should be theirs anyway.
Well, I know.
But thank you.
Right now,
Yeah,
if you don't do it,
creative
you
idea.
got nothing. You don't do it, you
Yeah,
get
right.
zero.
Absolutely.
And Lisa, please clarify your question.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, just wanted to know, what would be your suggestion for the sellers that I have an open house that I've had where the sellers stopped by and they were interviewing potential buyers at the open house. And of course, this is something that we did not discuss prior to. What would you suggest regarding that?
Okay, the sellers of the open house.
Yes, it was their
Okay.
home that my listing.
Yeah, the answer is no, you don't want them there. You don't want them interviewing. You don't want them doing any of that. How you do that, if you're the listing agent, one of your conversations need to be, buyers prefer the privacy of your home during showings and open houses. We ask that during those times that you find someplace else to be.
Okay, thank you.
Otherwise, get
Yeah,
lost. We don't want you
don't want them
here.
there. You sure as heck don't want them talking to the buyers. No good can come from
Make
that.
sure, matter of fact, Lisa, make sure they're not there for showings. That'll definitely screw up sales. So, all right. Well, David, I want to be respectful of your time. We appreciate even going a little overtime here.
Oh, glad to do it.
Fantastic session. You bet. Wonderful thoughts on what we can do for these open houses. We appreciate you. And David, we wish you the best. And as everybody knows, go talk to people, and a great way to do it is with open houses. Have a great
Yep,
one,
and you
guys.
can go to davidknox.com and see our training and online videos and check everything out. So thanks, everybody. See you later.